What about meta in life?
What's the life meta, John?
Not die?
Not
Wait,
dying.
if that's what your meta is, you need a little bit more purpose here in life. Oh my lord.
Graphical synthesizing.
Sure.
To-
Welcome to the status quo. Let's start breaking it down. I'm your host, Chance, and today I am joined by Sundered Gaming's lead scribbler, as always, Bear.
That's a me.
And I am joined by Sundered Gaming's lead argument starter, Johnny Boy. Absolutely.
Well, I don't wouldn't say I start the argument. I just could.
Continue.
You're the fuel for the argument.
Yeah.
I'd say even when you know you're wrong, you just keep arguing for the sake of it.
No, you're the one that knows that when you're wrong, you keep arguing. That's what you do.
Show me
You're
in the rule
instigator.
book.
Well, when I'm bored and I got nothing to do, it's more fun to just argue with you. So, topic of conversation for today. So we've got a
Oh,
couple.
we got topics now.
We
okay,
do.
We're getting better at this.
Crazy concept. I know.
Right?
We got some upgraded hardware. You know, somebody
Well-
actually watched a 30-minute video on YouTube on editing. It was useful.
Was it useful?
Yeah.
Was it
Also, I
made
think
by someone
someone-
we know?
I think
We
someone
love
watched the
them?
video on like audio settles and whatnot.
Yeah, don't even start with me. So our topics of conversation today are going to be the concept of remakes, what they do for the community, and what really the purpose is behind them. We're also going to talk about Lord of the Rings Gollum and the development company that put that one out.
Oh, not the actual character.
No, we're not. Well, I'm sure it'll get brought up. And then talking a little bit about metas within games. You know, you look at all these different games and
What about meta in life?
what's the life meta, John?
Not die?
Not
Wait,
dying.
if that's what your meta is, you need a little bit more purpose here in life. Oh my lord. All right. So I was just reading an article the other day about believe it's EA remaking Assassin's Creed Black Flags.
Well, you also have Nintendo remaking Mario RPG.
Yeah, but that one's that's been a long time versus Black Flags. I feel
Well,
like
I mean,
hasn't been.
you wanted to cover remakes, right? So
Well, okay, yeah,
There-
we're covering remakes in general. So let me pose one of my questions here to you. What's the point of remakes? Why do companies do it? What's the in your mind? What's the point?
So, to me, what I think a remake should be, it should be able to tell an outdated game to a newer generation that wouldn't necessarily go back and play like say Final Fantasy VII, right? Which is people say one of the greater Final Fantasies. And when they remade it for and updated the graphics, it brought in a whole new generation of people who would want to play it. Now, whether that new generation of people actually played it or not, I couldn't tell you, but I think that's probably what their goal is. Because as far as with the Assassin's Creed Black Flag, right? It's like, why Black Flag, right? Why not remake the original that started it all, right?
I think Black
Why-
Flag
why-
because it's their most popular. They
Yeah,
made they
but-
made the most money off of Black Flags.
Right. So why not just make another Black Flag?
No, I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly.
That's my counter to, the remake nonsense is like, okay, I get you made it because it was the most popular, but that's not what a remake should be for.
I mean, if they went through and they remade the original Assassin's Creed, I would buy it. I would play it.
Right.
It was a great game, and if they improved the mechanics and then they improved how beautiful that game was to what they could do now, it'd be an even better game. I would buy that. Black Flags, there's not all that much you can do with it. It's not that old of a game.
Right. And to be honest, I think a remake's what they ought really should be. It should be improvement upon the original. Kind of like how they remake movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a hit or miss, but to me, like whenever a reboot or a new series of something old comes out, I always give it the benefit of the doubt. Or all right, what's going to be awesome about this one, right? And I think that's what a remake should be because, all right, I love the old one. I played the old one a bunch, right? But now I'm gonna play the same thing. I don't get any new content, right? Now, if you give me new content with something that I've cherished and beloved, I'm all over that. Like, imagine a Halo reboot that had to do missions and new story and, you know, tweaked it a little bit.
So you mean like if they were to reboot the original Halo game?
Right. Not just do like, a graphical update like they did with the Master Chief Collection,
Mm-hmm.
but like an actual like, all right, here's a new Halo or reboot, and we're retelling it. It's going to be roughly the same storyline, but totally new stuff.
I don't know how I feel about that. I could see adding on to the end of the game, being like, "Hey, we added."
So then at that point, you just want something totally different.
Not necessarily, because you can still tell the story between like Halo 1 and Halo 2. There's a gap. There's a story to tell between Halo 2 and Halo 3.
Well, then why don't
there's
you
a
add
gap.
That to, why
there's
don't
a
you
story
add
to
that
tell.
To the Halo 1.
That's what I'm saying. So you go Halo 1, you release the original Halo 1 with your updated mechanics, your updated graphics, all that fun stuff, and then you add that additional campaign gameplay. Because like Halo Infinite, I don't give a shit about your cutscenes. I don't give a crap about like your 5-minute long cinematic that
That's
you
for
do,
multiplayer for some reason.
that adds nothing to the game, adds nothing to multiplayer, and you don't add any story to it. It's atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to release the original game, updated graphics, better mechanics, and then add on top of it, you just gave your community a heck of a lot more than you would have if you had just updated a couple meshes and fixed some textures and then moved on, which is essentially what they did.
Right. I mean, you're able to switch between the new and the old by toggling the button, which is
Kind of cool. Kind of cool. I'll give it that.
But yeah, to me, it's just. I mean, as much fun as I had playing it, there's nothing new or exciting waiting for me around the corner. Like, oh, what's over here?
Mm-hmm.
What am I? It's like, oh, I know what's over here. It's going to be 2 hunters that are going to, blast me to death, and I'm going to die if I don't jump into this pocket right here.
Yeah.
But Bear?
I was gonna say, I think you make a good point with them wanting to bring when they do reboots over a larger expanse of time for the next generation or another generation. But then I also think that, like Chance pointed out, that it's so recent from when that game was put out, which makes me wonder, like, one, did you run out of stories to tell? Because I mean, like, if that's the reason why you're rebooting this, then shame on you, in my opinion. Because there's. Oh, thanks, buddy. Oh, it's because it's wrapped and it's pulling it away.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. We apologize for that. Please don't hate us. So if the story isn't, if there's a story issue, which probably isn't, it's probably more of greed. Or like, hey, we're going to capitalize. We made a ton of money off of this. We're going to put it out there. We're going to sell it for even more. Maybe add some the more predatory practices of like maybe some things in it that you can cosmetics you could buy that, or like, I don't know. I don't know their motivations and I can't speak to that. But nowadays, when you see most of these games, a lot of games where it's like buy this to get more content, or this, like, what do you mean more content or more stuff? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, what is it's just to make money off of us, or do you really want to tell a good story and continue this this particular game that we really liked? Like, are you preying on people's desire for more of that, and just being like, we're just gonna retexture it, make it look prettier in this modern era or whatever, and not really do anything?
Right. But I mean, you take a look at Skyrim, right? They had a remastery of the game, within like 3 years of when it was released.
Are you talking about Skyrim, the game, to like what they did with ESO?
No, he's just talking about Skyrim itself.
Skyrim too, when they did the
anniversary edition and then the remastered.
But see, I don't see the point in it. To me, I don't have the remastered version. I have the original.
Right.
And like
that's what I mean. They remastered it, and it was like, why does this deserve a remaster? Why not remaster? That was it Daggerfall, the first one.
I do not remember.
It was remaster that one to like bring it up to Skyrim standards and like have Skyrim physics or Skyrim's leveling or what have you, even like the questing, right? I think people would enjoy that more than just more of Skyrim. It's like, okay, yeah, I had enough about Skyrim. I don't need a remastered version of it. It's still fresh in my mind.
Was the Black Flags open world like the others? Kind of like you can.
I mean, every Assassin's Creed they make is pretty much the same game.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously different story, sometimes
Right.
better mechanics, different weapons, all that stuff, but the gameplay is essentially all the same.
And did the developers actually say like specifically why they're rebooting it? Did
No,
they even?
not in the article I was reading through.
But the thing is that I thought they were also rebooting the Assassin's Creed altogether because aren't they going back to where it started from in the Middle East?
Not that I know of.
You haven't seen that one?
No. I mean, whether or not they tell another story with another, having them release another game, it's not really like kudos to them. You have more story to tell. Please do, because you release good games when you do. Except for the weird God one, that was just too much. The Assassin's Creed where you were basically like fighting gods.
Was that Valhalla?
It might have been Valhalla. I don't remember which one it was. I got like a couple hours into it and I set it down. I was like, no, thank you.
They
I'm
try
good.
to Assassin's Creed God of War style?
Yeah, that's what it felt like. But on your point, so like you take Assassin's Creed Black Flags and then them re-releasing it, like sure they're being predatory to a point on people's desire for
Nostalgia.
correct, and that's where I was gonna go. It's to me they're being predatory on nostalgia. They want people to pick the game up and remember what it was like back in those days. Because that's like even World of Warcraft when they re-released Lich King, like hardcore played that for like a month, and then I was like,
Right.
all right,
Isn't it-
nostalgia's gone, I'm good.
I was gonna say nostalgia wears off, so it's like, why they even do it for nostalgia's sake? To me, it's just
Well, they do it for the
makes-
nostalgia, so they can get you to buy the game, and then they just move on. Because
Right,
you
fair
you
enough.
spend your 60, 70,
Yeah,
80,
yeah.
whatever
No, you're
dollars
right,
it is
you're right.
now to buy a freaking game.
You get a couple million people do that.
it's like,
And
all right, I got your
half
money.
of them are disappointed because they were expecting something better or something different, and then they got the remake of a game they've already played,
Correct.
and they spent $60.
Especially if they're
And
already
they're-
like 100% it before.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? I'm not the biggest fan of Blizzard, and I never will be, but the fact that they didn't charge everybody for vanilla, they didn't charge anybody for Burning Crusade, they didn't charge anybody for Lich King, props to them on that.
Right.
They gave a very specific community and a whole bunch of people who wanted it for a very short period of time what they wanted.
Right.
And then they moved on. They didn't try gouging you, they didn't charge you anything.
I mean, technically, they just wanted their subs back.
well, yeah, that's true. And
But,
they
but
they
in reality, it's like, okay, well, I'm either playing vanilla, right, or I'm playing retail. Either way, you know, for those of us that didn't really care too much about the vanilla craze, we could have been gone back, oh, let me go try it out. It's like, oh, this is atrocious. Or be like, you know, I remember this being this bad, dying to fucking 2 mobs at once and
yeah. Well,
yeah.
and then they made their money off of it too. Everybody who paid for boosts, I mean, everybody who paid for
yeah.
for realm transfers. I mean, they
I
still made money
how
off
many
of
people
it.
got upset because
Oh
they
yeah,
want to do a realm boost from Burning Crusade. It's like, dude, guys, I don't know why you're taking this so serious. It's
everybody was so
It's an
butthurt. It was
MMO that
great.
people have already played for the last 10, 12 years.
10, 12
This is
years. It's
old.
like 20.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's ancient.
Yeah, it's an old game, guys. Especially with the content that you're playing
It's almost older
Right.
than I
has
am.
already been done.
Wasn't it like 2006?
I don't remind me because it's going to be so old.
2005. I think. I don't know.
2004.
Ah,
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah, so it's
I just
almost.
remember playing it in 2005.
Yeah, it's almost 20 years old. That's
Wow.
crazy to think about.
20.
You're old, Johnny boy. You're old.
But like to give credit where it's due, it's still been a powerhouse.
Oh,
since
absolutely.
2004.
But
Yeah.
one of the biggest issues with it, though, is like how much they charge for this latest expansion and then like all the microtransactions in the game right now. And don't get me wrong, most of it's cosmetic. Can't really bitch about that.
Right.
But like the WoW tokens being introduced into the game, like
Yeah, but the wild tokens are for those who don't want to do the farming, who don't want to do this.
the extra, and they have the money.
yeah, I'm
Like-
gonna
like-
complain about WoW tokens, but I've purchased my fair share.
I mean, I understand that like it actually promoted a system unintendedly to this whole like economy of people that get paid by running people through.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And it's just like, well, you're not really earning your stuff. You're getting run through like all these dungeons. And so like it ruined PvP for those of us that just want to PvP, because now we're going up against people who got ran through like, the highest tiered whatever. And
With
just
all
like,
their announcements all night long, just popping up. I'm like, no, I want to earn that.
correct.
I don't want
It's like,
to
I
pay
need to ran
someone to
through-
get the
Right. It's
top
like, first of all, I
rank.
don't have like 50,000 gold. So I was like,
John's like, I would do it, but I'm broke.
So your problem isn't that they do it. The problem is you can't afford it.
but I'm just saying it does cause an issue. And it's just like, where's the fun of being ran through like high level stuff? Like, I get the appeal, like wanting the high end gear, but like, come on, people.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just gonna play the game to get maxed out and then move on, like if you want to play the game so that people can play it for you, so that you can get max stuff, so that you don't have to play it anymore, why are you even playing the game?
Right.
But I think sometimes it's so they can get to high end guilds.
Yeah,
High end guilds.
yeah,
Like,
Where you have to actually submit a resume of like everything that
Oh,
you
yeah.
rated,
it's crazy,
Right?
dude.
so you can. Okay.
just to get a spot to try out to try to be in their lead raid group. And then it's like, if you're not the class or spec that's of the month, they're like, oh, no, we can't take you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
You're a freaking Death Knight.
Yeah, that's why you
Go
gotta
away.
have like 8 maxed out characters, all with full gear. Like,
Yeah, I don't have time for that.
no,
Right.
no, nobody's time for that.
I just want to go fight some people.
See, we gotta get you into Guild Wars, because like even you start like you're level 2 and you go
And
into
you fight
PvP
level
and you're
60
you're
PvP.
maxed out.
In PvP.
You don't have
Yeah.
to grind through and level up or any
You
of
don't have
that.
to do anything.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was great.
All the gear that you need is available to you right as soon as you go to the island.
Yeah, especially when
Is
you
the PvP as smooth as WoW's?
no.
No,
No.
but it's still fun.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a whole different dynamic of combat
Mm.
for sure.
Or because you think about Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic,
Right.
that PvP. It's fun, but it's not as smooth as WoW either. And like that's part of the reason why I think a lot of PvPers went back to WoW or go back to WoW is because of the how smooth the PvP is. You feel like
Correct.
things are going off when they're supposed to go off.
Yeah.
all that.
Right.
Such is life. But back to the whole point on the remakes. So Nintendo with Mario, I think that's actually a really good idea because
yeah.
how
Well,
old is Mario RPG?
For one, Mario RPG was made by Square Enix, right? Which is back in the day. If you guys didn't know, SquareSoft was Square Enix back in the day.
I didn't know.
Yeah, that's coming from our resident grandpa over here.
that. Nintendo guy.
But anyways, so they made the game, so they had the rights to Mario RPG. Not obviously Mario itself, but so you never actually got to see Mario RPG 2 or all this and that when SquareSoft went to PlayStation.
Mhm.
So now after so many years to have finally a remake under Nintendo's name, I think it's great because then that opens the door to Mario RPG 2, which a lot of people have been waiting for.
I like Mario Party.
Of course you do.
You seem like a Mario Party
You
kind
feel
of
like
guy.
a Mario Party person.
I love it. And Fall Guy. I played Fall Guy with Rennie.
Oh my lord!
I only played like 3 rounds, but it was hilarious.
And
He's one of those.
yes, he is.
Sometimes you just need
It's
something
almost
stupid and simple
Turned into a
They're like-
console peasant.
to escape in.
So in EA's case for Black Flags, I see it as greed. I see it as we're struggling on money because nobody wants to buy our remake of NBA 2K for the 400th freaking time. So let's make Black Flags.
I never understood games that like a new baseball game that came out like every year and like I understand, okay, if new rosters gets updated and stuff like that, it's like couldn't you just make a game that updated the rosters rosters every year, but then it's like, oh well, where's the money making it?
Correct, and there wouldn't be money. I could see them like releasing a game and then being at like every new season, it's like a $10 DLC. To like, at least that's less greedy than releasing a brand new game every year.
Because I mean, like, I could get it like back in the day, like when you were going up from console to console to console, getting a new version of that, baseball or whatever, right? Because it's like, oh, it's new mechanics, it's new stuff, it's new everything. It's like, okay. But after a while, it's like, okay, how many times can you improve on, like, pitching or selecting the pitch, right? Now, like, I can do like a whirly board with my sticks and hit square, and it actually does a screwball. I was like, before I just had to hit square to throw a screwball if I wanted to. So it's just, at some point, it's like, okay, you get on a little bit overboard on the mechanics, right? And like, I don't know. The same thing goes with like basketball, like causing people's like, break their knees or whatever, where you juke them and
break their ankles
or break their ankles, yeah. Break
their knees.
I'm like, that's a mob video game.
Where are we at?
Break their ankles. Yeah, as you can see, I don't play many basketball games. But yeah, it's just like, what was a simple NBA Jam where you just like, get it and try to do the cool slam dunks.
See, I was more of like blitz football.
Oh, that was
where you like
awesome.
tackle somebody and you like all you're trying to do all game is like break bones, so you can see like the X-ray.
You keep tackling it after the fact.
Yeah, it's funny.
I played FIFA.
Yeah, I bet you did play FIFA.
Yeah, you did.
God.
Yeah,
I had my own team.
We do not condone FIFA players here. So
I do.
He will be taken care of after the podcast.
It was nice knowing you guys.
So for sure, we're kind of in the realm of like it's mostly greed. For most of the remakes, because I mean, like you look at Nintendo, they're doing it, I feel, for a good reason.
Right.
They're doing it to actually bring back a game that's like, hey, people want this.
Right.
Like Skyrim did not need 6 different editions of Skyrim.
Especially when you have to pay for each edition. It's like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, I bought your old one. At least give me a break on the new one,
Yeah.
right?
Assassin's Creed did not need Black Flags this soon. Like literally, they could have remade the first one,
right?
And it would have been great.
Right. But yeah, it's just one of the things is like, if you're going back to your most popular game and you're re-releasing it, you should probably think to yourself, should we re-release this game or make a new one based off this because this was popular and these are the reasons why it was popular? Like, to me, that's kind of like a no-brainer. It's like, all right, people like this. Let's give them more of it with new stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you would think so.
You would hope so.
Yeah.
Or just rebrand it, repolish it, and resell it.
Which is pretty much what everybody's doing right now.
Right.
Yeah. It's a little rough.
I mean, at least when, like, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, right? It was a different developer that took it up to just upgrade the whole thing, and you didn't buy each game. You bought the whole trilogy at the upgraded graphics, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's some studios that do it right. There's some studios that like actually give you the bang for your buck. But nowadays, it's like they're a dime a dozen. Not a dime a dozen. They're few and far in between. A dime a dozen is people who remake garbage and then try and resell it to you.
Right.
But, I mean, from a developer standpoint, because we'll be releasing games here, like, if we ever get to the point where we're looking at something and we're like, oh, everybody loved this, like, let's put it out again. If we don't add content to it, like
we will shoot someone on the board.
What?
We will shoot someone that's on the board.
On the board of directors.
Okay. I don't want no board of directors. Bunch of
Yeah.
No
Anywho.
board of directors.
Because that's
vetoed.
Yeah.
It'll get to that point.
We own our stories.
Right.
We are not. We do not answer to anybody except for ourselves and our
which
community.
We can talk about the stock market on our next podcast because I have a whole bunch of it.
Oh, you mean how BlackRock owns everything?
No,
we're not going down this tangent right now.
No, we're not going down a black hole. But I'm just saying, as far as when it comes to stockholders, is you're buying stock at your own risk. No one should be held accountable. Like the stockholders, the company should not be held accountable for the stock
shareholders,
which is what the law says that we have to be. Which I think that's just stupid. It's like you're investing at your own risk. If you don't like what they're doing, then take your money out.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's neither here nor there. So you would add gameplay if you were to remake as a studio, as a developer. If you were to remake a game, what would you do to make it better? What would you put into the game, or what would you change to give your community and your players something that's actually worth rebuying?
It would actually be dependent on the actual game itself and what made it popular and what made people like it, to see if we can give them more of it, improve them systems that they didn't like, so they don't have to go through like the cumbersomeness of whatever that held it back from being like a god tier game. Just to pretty much like, all right, this is the game that you wanted, right? With all the feedback that you gave us from like the past and present and what have you, with the same story that you guys love and hold dear to your hearts, and maybe add some more, especially if it's one of those choose your adventure type games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe add more
Options.
choosing, right? Because why not?
Give you more of a
because like if we expand upon your being able to choose and ultimately ending up changing the ending of the game, then guess what? Now we're obligated to make another game that's continuation of the first one. That's a remake of the second game that we did to expand upon the expanded universe that we just did.
Are you telling me you're retconning?
Well, no, we're not retconning. We're just adding more information that was not priorly known.
the player character didn't have previously.
Yeah, like an island in the middle of the ocean that's got pandas on it.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
It was a moving island. First of all, it was a moving island.
And it's not going to be pandas. It's going to be koalas this time.
Oh, yeah? Can't wait.
The koala island.
Australia's going to hate you for
Australia. Can't wait till we have playable koala races in our
it.
games.
They're camping koalas. They're snipers.
They're camping koalas. You sail by their island, and they just...
Pretty much.
That's why nobody knows they're there.
The Bermuda Triangle in the Pantheon of Tyranny series. Why can't we go down there? It's the koalas.
The camping koalas.
So at the end of the day, it kind of just comes down to what the community wants.
Right.
That's kind of where that's at.
I mean, if they're asking for a remastered version, then yeah, we'll give them a remastered, but we won't. It won't be like a 1-for-1. It'd be, a 1.2.
Yeah.
And then added content that would not disgrace the original, if that makes sense.
No, I get you. I mean, you look at like Blizzard with the re-release of Vanilla.
Right.
They didn't touch anything.
Right. They could have done so much with what was like Vanilla Plus that was just like wouldn't change the storyline, wouldn't done any of this, but like
yeah, they literally could have like just made a second game,
right?
Like a whole-on second game based on the original story plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they could have done. They could have done a lot.
The whole like Scarlet Crusade, right? That just kind of just went kaput, right? We could have had the Scarlet Crusade and raid boss after after the Max Ramus.
Do you think the reason they didn't do it that way is because they didn't want the vanilla version of the game to become more popular than retail?
I think it would have. I think they're in a downward spiral right now, and I think it would have saved them, and it would have done a lot more good than harm.
Well, the thing about vanilla, right, is that even when you were playing on a private server, the private servers get reset.
Correct.
So I never understood the fantasy to level up a character all the way up to 60, go through all the content, and then have my character get erased over and over and over again. And then Blizzard tries to replicate that by doing the seasons, right, with their stuff, and have like, oh, you can level faster after the season, stuff like that, and then and whatnot. But no, they just pretty much are allowing you to continue, because they didn't do that with Burning Crusade, right? The seasons.
No, they didn't.
They just went straight into Wrath.
Straight into Wrath. Well, not a lot of players like Burning Crusade was popular, but Vanilla and Lich King were way, way more popular.
Well, Lich King was the pinnacle,
Correct.
right, of what people would play in before they start falling off because of,
Fun,
Cataclysm.
yeah, story.
what I mean. How can you top the Lich King, right? At that time.
Well, he was one of the only ways to really do that, unless you do the Legion stuff.
I think bringing back the Legion before Deathwing
Would have been better.
I think so.
Regardless, remakes are just because companies are greedy. I think that's the point we're getting here.
Are we gonna
Most of
try to
them.
go talking to the circle again before we come back 20 minutes later back to the statement?
Pretty much.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
All right. Move on.
Next topic.
Okay, so I actually wanted to read you guys this headline. So this is from Bounding into Comics. The Lord of the Rings Gollum developer shuts down after catastrophic reception. And I'm going to read you a quote from the development studio in general. And then just to kind of clarify, so they're not shutting down the studio as a whole. They're shutting down their game development portion of the studio. So they will no longer be developing new games, but they'll be maintaining the games that they have and the games that they've already released and the ones that they have planned for release. But let me
Okay.
see.
So how are they making money?
Don't ask me.
They're probably still making games. They're just like, well, you didn't like our game?
Well, they're probably just being outsourced,
Yeah.
third party.
Oh, their games being outsourced?
Like, wasn't
No.
Sega-
Like so say like us, right? Like, oh, dude, we need someone to create this scene, but we don't have anyone to skill set to do that. It's like, hey, we like your cinematics. Can you make this scene such and such and such? And we're like, okay. And then they bring it back, and there's our scene.
That's fair. That is fair. I'm just looking for this quote real quick. Doo-doo-doo.
Well, it was like Sega. Didn't Sega, they weren't allowed to make video games anymore, or at some point?
No, they just stopped making consoles.
Yeah, but I thought there was something that they weren't supposed to make something for a while, and then they ended up they're like still collaborating with all these other projects on the DL.
I think it was more them shifting from a console
To
just plain software.
Yeah.
Because after the fall of Sega or the Dreamcast, right, that's when they started licensing their stuff out to other developers.
All right, so I got the quote here. So this is from a representative from Daedalic Entertainment, and he says, "We would like to sincerely apologize for the underwhelming experience many of you had with The Lord of the Rings Gollum upon its release. We acknowledge and deeply regret that the game did not meet expectations we set for ourselves or for our dedicated community. Please accept our sincere apologies for any disappointment this may have caused. We apologize that we did not meet the expectations we set for ourselves."
So why'd you release the game?
right.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah.
So as a game development studio, you're looking at this game and you're thinking to yourself, this is trash. I mean, I've been saying that about our game for like 6 months now, and we still haven't released
Right?
because
No,
we want
we
it to
don't-
be good.
Right. We
Like,
don't want it to work like
Oh, if you're the one
terribly.
saying it's trash, but okay.
It's not trash.
no, it's like hot garbage.
I wouldn't say hot garbage because that stinks. I would say it's more like garbage set out in winter.
It's
It's there. It's just not quite as appealing as we want it to be. But it doesn't stink yet.
it doesn't stink yet.
It's got a lot of pieces. It's like a puzzle. It hasn't been put together yet.
Or yeah,
Well, it's almost there.
it's like
But
a
it's
partially built treehouse.
Yeah, it's about a month out.
About a month. About a
we'll,
month.
we'll get there. But yeah, I was very surprised to read that from an article. It's for you to come out as a game developer and say, yeah, we didn't even like it when we put it out. That just goes to show you, like, anything else moving forward that they put out or anything they do updates for or maintain, they're not going to do it up to a good standard.
Well, then, like, who else was behind the Lord of the Rings?
There was one other I want to say that helped develop. Just 1 second.
Doing live research.
Nacon, and I've actually never heard of them, but they're just publishers. They're not.
So there was no. I mean, Data like a public run company. I don't want to say it is, but
Daedalic, founded 16 years ago. I could not tell you. Mostly because I don't feel like doing the research right now.
You know.
yeah, because like what I don't understand what pressed them to release it in the state that they did.
Yeah. I
Especially
mean,
like if they leaked photos of Gollum beforehand, maybe they could have corrected their issue.
Like
I mean,
Sonic.
we've had people done it before. Yeah.
yeah, right. The entire internet's uproar over Sonic the Hedgehog, and then the studio's just like, okay, we're gonna
What?
fix it. Oh, like weirdos losing your mind over a freaking blue animal.
Hey, but it worked. I mean, can you imagine them doing that to Mario? Right? Try to produce Mario Brothers?
And make him like terrible looking.
Right. Like, you saw what happened with the original Mario Brothers, the live action one?
Oh,
on.
yeah.
King Koopa?
King Koopa.
Yoshi? I didn't even realize that was Yoshi
Hey,
for like a long
yeah.
time until I got older. It's like, oh,
Oh,
that's the pet dragon. Oh, he's a dinosaur.
he's a dinosaur.
It just, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be frustrating for like the development team to like release something that they're not acceptable with, that they don't feel comfortable releasing. But it's like, it makes me think about like what's that driving factor that they were like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna release this game even though we know we're not ready to.
Maybe they had the plans. They accomplished all of those plans. They were ready to put it out. And then they were like, oops.
So they weren't very good plan makers.
Well, they thought they had a great game, and then they put it out, and then people roasted it, and they're like, oh, well, I guess we didn't do a very good job.
So do you think they're just trying to CYA right there and just say, oh, it didn't live up to our standards either?
That's not covering their ass, because that's just saying that, like, okay, well, then why did you produce it in such a, or why did you bring it out in such a state? To me, that just puts you digging deeper into the hole, because not only are
Because
you
you've taken money. You've taken
not
money
only
from
you-
people.
accepting responsibility that, like, oh yeah, no, it didn't meet our standards either,
Right.
right? But
I don't know.
yeah, like to me, if they're like, wow, we realized that we were this off the mark, we apologize. You know, we thought we had a better game than we originally thought. Because at least that, because that's being more humbling, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Being like, we thought we had a good game, and
Right.
we thought it was in a condition to be released, and we apologize that we were off the mark by so much.
I mean, that would go way better with your community than just saying, yeah, it didn't meet our standards either.
Right. So
Sorry.
We're no longer making video games.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, but like, I mean, you take a look at their rap sheet. It's not like they had a.
Yeah, they really didn't have a lot
Mountain.
of popular, any popular games. I didn't recognize a single thing that they produced
Out of
ever.
all the
There-
names
there's
you
only
were
one that
reading
I-
off earlier, I didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
There's only two of them that I've ever heard of: Deponia and Blackguards. And Blackguards I actually played.
So you have played a game by them.
Yes, it did.
Wow.
What's Blackguards?
It's like a turn-based hex D&D type style,
Hmm.
but like you end up finding out that if you're an archer, you can just like one-shot everybody.
Surprise!
Yeah,
Interesting.
Right. If you play a swordsman, then you're in for a rough life, and then if you're playing mage, you can't cast anything because you hurt everybody.
Oh, because of the
Hmm.
AoEs.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You can't cast
So
anything.
therefore, you become a marksman, and you're just able to shoot everyone from like a mile away and be like, ha ha!
That's funny.
It reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy Tactics.
Right? I love
Like-
the Dragoon. It's so fun.
Where you
Hmm.
jump.
Yeah. Hey,
What?
he was always the last one to survive.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, a little disappointed in some of the games that are coming out this year, and especially the quality wise of the game. And
I mean, I'm more excited about Nintendo's, remake of Mario RPG than I am about any other game.
well, because that's to a point that is a nostalgia factor. But
Mhm.
like, I could go play Nintendo or Mario RPG right now at home.
Can you though? You don't have a Super Nintendo.
Are you gonna cry about it?
I am.
You super-
I can't play
Wait.
it.
Yeah, you have a 64 though.
We have a 64, but I mean, it's a game that I could literally go home and play, and I would play if I could, but I don't have a Super Nintendo, so get off,
Oh, you
leave me
can
alone.
play it on the Switch.
Nope.
Either
Not on the
way.
Switch.
Either way,
Not on the Switch.
No.
You can't play
You can't
the
play
new
it at all.
Mario that's gonna come out, the RPG on the Switch.
No, when it comes out, it'll be on the Switch.
yeah.
Oh, okay. It's
But
like,
the
why
thing-
would they do that?
The thing is that it's never been on any of the Nintendos like back in the day, like how they always had
I
like,
see. Okay.
oh, you can play the old Nintendo games, right?
Right.
It was never on there
Mm. Wow. That's weird.
because it was owned by another
Yeah.
company.
That being said,
Mm.
it's one of those games where, like, yeah, it's got a nostalgia factor to it, but it's also was just a good game.
Right.
Like, and there's so much they can do with it. Like you said, now that they have it, they can like actually build off of it and give us more story.
Hopefully a number 2.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if the boys over at Bush League Gaming know about that one. I'm sure they do.
I'm
They
sure
they
do.
spend more time reading articles than probably Bear does political stuff. So
And also, like, it just was recently like announced, like, I don't know, a week ago. So
yeah, I know. I think didn't they both take the night off to go play the Star Wars game when it came out?
Yeah.
I'm-
The second one.
I'm
I still
sure.
haven't played the first one.
I played the first one for a little bit and then stopped.
Why'd you stop?
It's not Legends.
You mean it's not canon?
It's canon, Disney canon.
Oh,
Legends.
That's a statement.
Legends is where it's at. Like, hands down. All the Disney stuff is garbage compared to the actual books and the lore that they created. They
that's a
ruined
whole
it.
other subject there.
Yeah, I was gonna
They
say
like ruined it.
maybe we'll have to do a whole breakdown of Star Wars lore one of these days. If you would like
go-
to, if you would like to see a whole podcast about Star Wars lore, let us know in the comment section. We can sit here for an hour with Bear as he
Just before you go
goes
to-
chronologically down the entire timeline, and he's like, "This is where it got shitty."
Right
here.
Kathleen Kennedy. Ruined it all.
Oh,
Oh, speaking of which, do you know the
You're
This-
way back.
use your words,
actually
buddy.
never mind. I need to double check, so I won't say that over the internet.
I won't say that over.
It's
the
only
internet.
forever.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to be wrong about it. Come on.
So
I'm
moving.
gonna be wrong on
I'm,
tons
I'm-
of stuff.
I'm pretty sure it's what I read, but like Disney's diversity VP,
We're not getting into politics.
no, they got left
Fired?
the company.
Got canned.
Left the company.
Sure. Nobody leaves Disney.
They own you for life,
Yeah.
man.
They either kick you out or cut your head off and freeze it
They no
down
longer
below.
associate themselves with Disney. I don't know what you want me to say.
They bury your head next to Walt.
Yeah.
That's sorry. Let me get my tinfoil hat on real quick. So, I think it's fair to say, as developers, if we don't like the game, we shouldn't release it.
Probably not. I would say so.
I'd say that's a pretty fair and accurate
Yep.
statement. And now we're gonna get on to a topic of conversation that is John's absolute favorite.
Oh, yep.
Is it my favorite? It's not. What I say is my favorite.
Is this where I can take Bear's nap time?
Yeah,
No,
right.
no, no,
Because
no, no.
it's gonna be
John's gonna rant.
I am not gonna. I promise. I won't
So,
rant.
John, how do you feel about metas within games and what they do to the community and what they do to the players?
He's for it, baby.
Calm down. So, metas. It has its upsides and it has its downsides, just like anything else in
Well, we
life.
got a whiteboard right here. Should we start writing pros and cons?
No. You don't need a pros and cons list. All we need to know is that as far as when it comes to the competitive play, as far as there's always going to be a meta. There's always going to be something that's the best out there, right? And for people to find the meta, yeah, that's a fun thing to find, right? But overall, if your character or your spec or whatever is not in the meta, then it's no longer a fun time for you to play. So as a developer, it's like, well, what do we do to curb that that meta-ness? Well, it's like the people that are having fun, we don't want to really nerf them because, you know, they're having a good time, right? But how do we buff the other people to keep it in line with everyone else? and do we change certain mechanics to, prevent certain metas from happening, or, But my idea on metas in general is just they're going to happen. They're there. Best thing that we can do is just try to mitigate it.
Why would you want to mitigate metas?
Because then the gameplay becomes stale. Because then you're just watching the same thing. I mean, you can't have metas in sports because people are different.
Yeah, you can. Because the NFL is technically an entertainment business. So
Right.
they can literally write out the schedule for the entire year and who wins.
Do you really, you're on that bandwagon? No.
Tinfoil hat.
No. First off, no. So you don't have equal amounts of whatever talent per team, and some teams can upset other teams and what have you. But like when it comes to video games, like, well, each character that plays this class, right, when they're given so many choices of talents, right, they're gonna find the best ones that are gonna suit them, regardless of how fun the other ones are or how what have you,
But not necessarily. Because, like, you played a Death Knight,
Yeah.
a Frost DK through all of... What was that last expansion? Shadowlands. That absolutely wonderful game that we all enjoyed so very much. You played a Frost DK, which was terrible the entire time because you enjoyed your Frost DK.
Yeah, but it was an atrocious time to play. I mean, granted, we had some fun times where we like AoE'd and just like
Yeah.
heads everybody down, but like, come on, it's just
And it was literally an entire expansion where
Right.
that character was just unplayable.
yeah, well,
Uncompetitive,
uncompetitive, yeah.
for sure. So,
And then like, but to have like every season or every expansion, RPG being the number one, it's like, really? It's like you've gone like how many
for those
expansions
that
now?
don't know what RPG is, it's Rogue Priest Mage. Or no,
RPM.
Rogue Priest Mage.
RPG.
I was like, RPG, I'm like, well, what the heck's a G?
Role playing games.
Yeah.
Yeah. What RPG is. Sorry, that's my fault. I'm dyslexic, stupid. Yeah, all the above. Yeah, no RPM.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
So, with them being constantly on top, it was like, why wouldn't we ever play those three classes?
Or when you have the druids and they had their
Oh, their little boomkin
yeah.
go off like, oh wow.
It's like,
okay,
oh,
that's-
everybody
that's
just
fun.
dies.
Yeah, one Guardian Druid and 2 Balance, and then it was just like, okay.
I
Yeah.
guess today we're playing against the gods.
Right?
We're
Oh, it was
out.
terrible. So then, from a developer standpoint, fixing it, you don't destroy one class and nerf them to the ground like what Blizzard does or what like Riot Games does with their champions or any of that other stuff. Like you would just boost everybody else.
Well, again, you have to find out what's causing them to be OP. Like RPM, the reason why they're so powerful is because they can literally like see or CC like 2 people and just go after one and nuke them down.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're nuking that guy down, he's being CC'd at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, obviously they have too much CC between their classes. So then we break it down. Okay, so what's the CC that we can take away? Well, we can't really take away the mage's CC because he technically only has one, which is the sheep, right? Then you look at rogues, like, okay, well, they have, blind, they have gouge, they have cheap shot, they have kidney shot. They have all these utilities just to lock someone down. It's like, okay, well, maybe we need to spread it out to where, they can only either lock one person down or they can't lock someone else down, vice versa. It's just...
Playing a game, basically. You as the dev have to play a game to figure out what the solution is.
Correct. And then that would knock... But then you just like, okay, well, if we take away the rogue's utility, then are they still viable after that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Is it still a classic that's played? So you take away the CC and then you see it goes from like a 20% played class to like a 2, and you're like, oh, okay, we broke something.
Right. Well, then at that point, it's like, well, we're not going to give you the CC back because you were broken before that. So then we start looking at some of the abilities as far as damages go, to where like, okay, now you want to feel like an assassin. It's like, okay, well, you're going to be weaker defensively, but you're going to hit a lot harder.
So would you have a dev team that's just specifically designed for fixing?
Oh,
and
you should.
fixing metas constantly.
Because
like- 'cause, like,
you should
you-
have a specific design team for your PvP,
Well,
right?
not just PvP, even PvE.
PvE. I mean, but PvE is obviously a lot easier to tweak and
Correct.
to.
But anything you mess with in PvP is probably going to affect PvE also. So you have to balance the two changes,
Unless they act independently of each other.
which we would have to, from a developer standpoint, figure out how to do that. But
Well,
sure.
they already do that with WoW, right? So you have certain skills affect PvP differently than they do in PvE,
Mhm.
right? So whether my power ratio to hit a monster, right, it's like 100%. Well, when I hit a player character, it's only going to be 75%,
Mhm.
right? Regardless of how strong I am, it's going to be 75% of what I hit the PvE monster for,
Mhm.
right? So that's how you kind of change how things affect, different things when you're talking about PvP damage versus PvE damage versus PvP damage, and of that sort. As far as also when it comes to CC, you should be able to CC a PvE monster a lot longer than you can a PvP player,
Fair.
right? Because when you sheep someone, how long does the sheep last? A minute.
Wow.
In
When,
PvE.
when you sheep a player.
Yeah,
it
see,
lasts-
so-
yeah.
When you sheep a player, it only
Yeah.
lasts like 5 seconds.
That's fair. So then, like, you look at Blizzard and even Guild Wars and even like Riot Games, like they do their updates like once a quarter, maybe.
Right.
They really don't do
and-
balanced stuff very
And
often.
sometimes they'll do it between seasons and stuff
Yeah.
like that. To me, it depends, right? What's the class ratio look like, right? Is it spread across the board to where the number of classes that are being played is an even split, right? Then obviously things are going okay. Sorry if I just got really loud there.
I'll edit it.
But if the classes were skewed towards 3 classes, right, that's when you need to start making some changes, right? But if it's spread about to where these are just slightly up for one odd reason, or another, then you may not need to change it right away, right? That could be something that can be changed after the season or what have you. But I think you just have to look at numbers and just analyze the numbers, right? What's being played and how it's being played, and is that intentional for what we intended for, and whatnot? Because players are going to find ways around it. No matter how much you try to stop something from happening or implement something that you think was cool, and then all of a sudden realize, oh wow, I didn't realize I just broke the game by doing that, right? Because players are very creative and they're able to come up with stuff out of the ashes that we'll never be able to dream of until we see it
somebody
happen. And
does
we're
it.
just
Right.
well, I didn't even have the skill set to do that. Apparently that could happen. All right, global cooldown on this, global cooldown on that.
Yeah.
Global cooldowns.
Yeah. No, and I think the biggest part about balancing too is you have an open communication with your players, with your community, and be like, hey, we're making changes because this is ridiculous.
But then you can't listen to the loudest, the squeaky wheel though, right?
Oh, 100%.
Because sometimes it's okay, well you're just crying just to cry, or
Yeah, I mean we have a really good friend of ours who if he had it his way, rogues would just be deleted from World of Warcraft. You know who you are. You know who you are.
Great.
So yeah, of course,
forgot
the
about-
squeaky wheel can't always get the grease, but when the squeaky wheel turns into the shaking caravan, then you're like, okay, we need to change this.
Caravan.
Just- yeah, but good times. Yeah, I'm not.
yeah, I mean, a meta.
Metas are bound to happen. What was that? That was
No, metas
did-
are a good tool for developers to have,
yeah. I feel like it's true,
especially when it comes to balancing.
and I feel like going at balancing metas in a way of improving everybody else and not just destroying what's already there.
I mean,
Is
you may
a
have
much
to-
better
you
way.
may have to destroy someone in the end, but
Well, it just really depends on how
Correct.
crazy unbalanced it is.
exactly, certain druid spells that just, one shot you before you can even, if I can't even react to the spell that you just casted on me, it's just okay, at some point,
Play a paladin, click your bubble.
You only get one.
and then die when their cooldown's up way before yours is.
Right.
All right. Well, that looks like all the time that the devs have given us to talk today.
Really? That's all we have for minutes?
That's all we have.
And John's like, I want more meta.
I knew you would. We tried getting there. Quicker.
Oh,
Okay.
But we went on a lot of tangents, and that's all right.
So it's breaking the status quo, right?
Yeah.
Never stay on track.
Yeah. It's just breaking the status quo of my list of things to talk about. That's for
Right,
sure.
and podcasting.
And podcast. All right. Well, this has been the status quo. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, let us know down in the comments what you'd like to hear us talk about in the future. Give us a like, give us a follow. Check us out on our website, sunderedgaming.com, and all of our socials, sundered_gaming.
And even if you don't like us, please follow.
Don't like
Yeah, it's share us. Just be like, hey, look at these idiots.
Right. Make fun of us. I don't care.
Worst podcast guys ever.
Right?
Right.
Because look how horrible we do.
Hey,
Come
we
on.
get an award for that. though.
We can't even.
Is there an
stay-
award?
We can't even
Sure.
stay on track.
I'll make us.
We're going back to those terrible microphones then, if we're getting an award for terrible podcast.
I mean, our lights aren't flickering, so
I
at
was gonna
least
say
there's that.
We can change that.
Five more before we can be a contender, right? Is that what it is?
5 more. How many are we at?
I don't know. I think this is 4. This has been episode 4 of the status quo.
So we need 6 more before we can
Episode
contend
Yeah.
4.
with the top elite of
You're all
podcasters.
alone in the wilderness. What do you do?
And then after the 10 is straight to 100.
Sure, why not?
Straight
Why
down.
not?
Right.
Well, it could do 5-minute podcasts, like the fastest
that work?
podcast in the world.
I have no
But I'm
clue.
supposed to just TikToks?
No, TikToks are like,
2 minutes?
I don't know.
There's a lot of dancing. We're
Most-
not doing any
most of
dancing.
my-
Okay, you don't have to dance.
Most of my
Okay.
TikToks have been like 15
I've seen
seconds.
podcasts on TikToks.
They're
so-
good though.
Yeah,
They
some
make
of
me
them.
laugh.
They make me laugh. You and 2,600 other people.
Hey, that's more than we had yesterday.
That stupid Facebook one is still like through the roof.
Hey man.
All right. Well, that's been
Thank you.
opinions from a game development studio that has put out no games.
Hey.
We'll see you soon. Dun dun dun. Smooth jazz.
Smooth
jazz.
Na na na. Oh, wait, no. I'll be the trumpet. I swear.